What is going on, guys? Welcome back. In this video today, we're going to learn how to speed up database select statements using indexes and how to measure the speed up using Python. So let us get right into it. Alright, so what we're going to do in this video today is we're going to use Python to showcase something that is quite important when it comes to working with databases. And whenever we do machine learning or data science, we're working with data, and oftentimes data is stored in databases, in large databases. So understanding what's happening there and how you can speed up certain things is very important. And we're going to use Python today to show how much faster certain operations, certain statements can be if we have an index on specific columns. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to use Python to create an SQLite 3 database. We're going to add a simple table called customers, and we're going to fill it up with sample data using the Faker module. So this is just a Python package that allows us to generate a lot of sample data professionally, so we don't have just random characters, but we have something that actually looks like a name, something that actually looks like an email, something that actually looks like a phone number and stuff like that. And what we're going to do then is we're going to execute a simple select statement. We're going to try to find a specific entry. We're going to say select everything from customers where email equals something. And then we're going to measure the execution time. Afterwards, we're going to add an index, and we're going to do the same thing again, and we're going to see how much faster it is when we're using an index on that specific column that we're using for the filtering. So what we're going to do first is we're going to open up a command line, and we're going to use pip to install the Faker module. I have a video on it. I think you can go to my channel, or you can go on YouTube and type neural 9 and then generate professional sample data or something like this. There I go into more depth on the Faker module. And what we're going to do then is we're going to import SQLite 3, and we're going to import Faker. Let me just turn off Copilot here. And what we want to do now is we want to basically create an instance. We want to say Faker or fake equals Faker, and then we want to say, or actually I need to change the import here, from Faker import Faker with a capital F. This is what I want to do. And then I'm going to open up a connection to a database that does not exist yet. So this is going to just create a new database. If I say SQLite3.connect, and then, for example, customer underscore DB .db, for example. You can call this whatever you want. And in here now, we're going to say we want to have a cursor that we can work with. So connection cursor. And then we want to execute a simple create statement. So we're going to just say create table customers. Or actually, I mean, we don't need an if not exists because we're going to just run this one time. So create table customers, and we're going to just provide the following fields. ID is going to be an integer. And a primary key, so integer primary key. Then name is going to be text. Come on. Email is going to be text as well, and phone number is going to be text as well, because we don't only have digits there, we also have symbols, and yeah. And also we don't want to treat this numerically, we don't want to do calculations, so it's a string. So this would be our basic create statement. And what we want to do then is we want to just fill this table up with some data. So we're going to say here for placeholder in range, and then how many entries we want to have. Let's say 10,000. Actually, we can do more. Let's go with 50,000. And let's say we want to have a fake name or a sample name. We want to have an email, so fake.email. We want to have phone number, which is going to be fake.phone. Actually, phone number with an underscore. And then what we want to do is for each of those, we want to say c.execute. And we want to execute the following statement. Insert into customers values. Or actually, do we need to provide the fields? We have I'm not going to enter an ID because I think this will just be generated automatically using auto increment, but I'm going to say name age, or not name age, name, email, phone. The values are going to be question mark, question mark, question mark. So we're going to use a prepared statement here, and we're going to just pass name, email, phone. that's that. Probably there's a more efficient way to do this. Maybe if we just store them in a collection, then we do one insert into for all of them. Not sure, but this is at least easier to write here now in code. I don't have to think too much about it. And then we're going to say connection commit and connection close. And should we also close the cursor? I think so, yeah. Let's go and see if that works. It's running, it's doing something, probably because of the inefficient way we are inserting data. There you go. Now we have this customer db.db, and we can actually open up the command line and we can navigate to the directory. In my case, this is desktop, programming, neural 9, Python, current. And here now I can just run, here I have now this customer db, so I can just say SQLite 3 customer underscore db.db. And here I can say, for example, select everything from customers. And then you're going to see all these entries here. We have a lot of data that was generated automatically here. And you can see we have different names, we have different emails, different phone numbers. And what we can do now is we can just copy one of those. Let's go with this one. And we're going to create a new script, which we're going to call, let's call it main2, very creative. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to execute a simple select statement, and we want to know how long it takes until we get a result. So how much time passes until we get a result. So we're going to say import time, import SQLite 3, and then we're going to say connection again. Actually, we can copy this from here. So we're connecting to the same database, and now what we're doing is we're saying start equals time dot this perf counter ns for nanoseconds, because this is going to be quite fast, especially when we have the index. So the end is going to be the same actually. And in between those two measuring points, we want to execute the query. So we want to say cursor.execute, select everything from customers. And now the important thing is that we're using the email column to find something. So we're not just saying give me everything, we're saying give me the entry or the entries where the email equals whatever. So where email equals, and in my case, I'm just going to, again, which one did I go for? This one? I'm not sure. I'm just going to take this one now. I'm going to say where email is that, and then I want to get the results by saying c.fetchAll. And then we have the results, and after the time measuring, we're going to just print that the result is whatever it is. And we also want to print end minus start, and maybe we want to also print it. This is ns for nanoseconds. Then we're going to say cursor close and connection close. So let's see. There you go. We have this result, and yes, it was still quite fast, but we're going to see that this is much faster with an index. And the important thing is, of course, now I have 50,000 entries. That's not much. If we have a lot more than that, the index is going to really make a difference. So you can see I found the respective entry. I can run this a couple of times. You can see this is roughly what we get here. So I'm going to just copy this here as a representative value. So this is roughly what we have, 5 million nanoseconds. I think after nano comes micro. So it would be, if I'm not mistaken, I hope I'm not talking bullshit now, but I think this would be now, this is nanoseconds. This would be microseconds, so it would be 5 milliseconds, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I'm not wrong about this, but I think so. I think this is roughly 5 milliseconds. Okay. So what we want to do now, we can do that either in Python or directly in a database. I'm just going to use a main3py to do that. We're going to now just create a simple index. So I'm going to say connection. Actually, let me just copy the first couple of things here. I'm going to say what I want to do is I want to execute a statement, and the statement shall be create index email underscore index on customers email. So basically that's it. So then close and connection close. And what you can do right now before we run this script is we can go into the database here with our command line tool, and we can type .index. And you can see there are no indexes here, so we cannot see a single index. And when I say something like select everything from customers where email equals something, I'm not even going to use a valid email here. That is the query. And what we can do in front of that query is we can add an explain query plan to see what is actually happening behind the scenes. And what you can see here is it does a full sequential scan on the customers table. So it goes through the customers table. Since it's not sorted, we basically have to go through all the values because I don't know until the last value if I find the value or not. So this is a full sequential scan, very inefficient. I can now run this here. And now if I run .index, we see there is an email index, and now I can run the same query as before with the explain query plan statement before that. And you can see now what it does is it searches customers using index email index. And this is way more efficient because now we don't have to go through all of the data. We have a sorted index depending on the kind of index. There's a different structure there in the background depending on the index type. But essentially, now we can do basically binary search because there is a sorted index and all that. So it's way more efficient to find the entries. And we can actually run this now here. And you can see we get this as an execution time. So I'm going to pick something like this here as a reference value. We can write this down. That would be nanoseconds. And that would be milliseconds, microseconds. So actually, this here, actually I should not use a comma, probably because I'm from Austria, I'm using a comma. I should be using a dot here, or actually no, what am I doing? This is nonsense. This would be milliseconds, and in this case, that would be milliseconds as well. So it is roughly 0.38 milliseconds. So I can actually open up a calculator here on Windows, and we can see that 5 divided by 0.38 is 13 times slower. So without an index, it's 13 times slower. Yeah, that's the difference here between using an index and not using an index. And of course, in this case, everything was almost instantaneous because even if I didn't have an index 5 milliseconds, I don't even recognize this. But if you have millions and millions of rows, you're going to see the difference. So using an index is very important and very useful, but this is just a very, very basic example here. You can do much more interesting things with indexes. You can use them. You can use a multi-column index, and you have to always consider, okay, is it worth it? How much storage do I need for the index? How much faster is the query? And if the example is not as simple as here, just having a simple column email and indexing it, if you have to work with joins and you have to join a lot of different columns or a lot of different tables on specific columns, it becomes a whole science to choose the right index and to do this properly. But this is a very basic example, and hopefully you understand now that an index can be very useful to speed up select queries, at least certain types. Because one thing, maybe before we end the video here, one thing that's important is, of course, if I now go for a phone number or something, so if I say where phone equals something, I'm just doing a sequential scan again because I'm only using the index on the email column. I have a special index where I essentially have the email feature or the email column sorted. I don't have the same thing for the phone. I could create it, and then maybe the phone or not maybe, then the phone queries would also have a speed up or get a speed up. But again, for every index you save, you're using storage, and you need to think about whether you want this or not. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and hope you learned something. If so, let me know by hitting a like button and leaving a comment in the comment section down below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell to not miss a single future video for free. Other than that, thank you much for watching. See you in the next video, and bye.